Conception Roman II, Children of the Seven Stars. Conception Roman II, Children of the Seven Stars is a Japanese role-playing video game by Spike Chunsoft and Atlus for the Nintendo 3DS and PlayStation Vita platforms. It is a follow-up to Conception, or no Kodomo o Undekure, in terms of gameplay, but their stories are unrelated. Conception Roman II was released in Japan on August 22, 2013, in North America on April 15, 2014, in the PL region in May 2014, and worldwide on August 16, 2016 for Microsoft Windows. Gameplay, 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 gameplay. Conception Roman II is a role-playing video game with turn-based battles in which players control a student at a high school that doubles as a training facility for demon hunters. The protagonist possesses an extremely high amount of ether in his body, which allows him to conceive star children to fight demons by classmating with his other classmates. During battle, fighters can be strategically placed around the enemies, allowing players to either safely target weak points or charge head-on for bigger rewards. Synopsis. The game's story follows Wake Archa's default name, a young teenage boy growing up in a world where demonic monsters pose a constant threat to society. These monsters are formed in dusk circles, which have formed in several locations throughout the world. After a monster attack kills Wake's sister on the day of her wedding, Wake discovers that he has the mark of the star god on his hand. He eagerly agrees to attend a school that trains people who bear this mark, all of whom are in their early to late teens, as the mark disappears shortly after they become adults. Wake is discovered to have a particularly high amount of ether in his body, which allows him to enter the labyrinths within the dusk circles and still use star energy, a feat not previously believed to have been possible. As a result, Wake is called God's gift and made an instant celebrity within the school. It is also discovered that Wake has a 100% chance of creating star children with S-rank female students, the highest ranking within the school, which Wake and the heroine can use to fight monsters. These children are created via a process called classmating, which involves Wake and the female student touching one another, and then forming the star child via a special matryoshka doll. As the game progresses, players have the ability to follow several storylines concerning the heroines, such as a ghost haunting the school pool that Fuyuko's sports team practices in, or Serena's frustration with her lack of height and feet. As Wake fights his way through several dusk circles, fellow student and school leader Alec grows more and more jealous of Wake's ability, as Alec feels like a failure due to his inability to fight in the labyrinths. The latter confronts Wake over him not training enough, to which Wake readily admits. Alec's frustration is compounded after he slays a monster within the school, only to find that the monster was wearing a school uniform. It is believed that somehow students are transforming into monsters, possibly after ingesting a narcotic called Trigger that is supposed to enable users to more efficiently use star energy. Despite being ostracized by some of his fellow students, neither Wake nor his friends fault Alec for his actions, and he remains friendly rivals with Wake. Alec's personal feelings towards fighting grow more tense over time, only mollified by the revelation that Chief Ruby, leader of the school's science lab, has found a way to help enable him to fight within the labyrinths using crystals discovered in previous dusk circles. Endings. The game has several endings depending on which heroine the player selects to take to the Star Conception Festival at the game's conclusion. If the player has met specific conditions, including unlocking all of the heroine's endings, the player can unlock a harem ending. Players also have the option to not select any heroine, which will show a scene where he hangs out with Klotz and Luce. Fuyuko, in Fuyuko's ending, She reflects on her interactions with Mary, a ghost trapped in the Academy's pool, as well as on the game's events as a whole, as she would otherwise have been an average teen girl. Wake informs Fuyuko that he has never seen her as ordinary and that he wants to spend the rest of his life with her. Years later, they are shown to have married and given birth to a daughter. Fiend. In Fiend's ending, Wake accompanies her to the festival, where Fiend tells him to take pictures of whatever he wants and cares the most about. Wake tells her that he wants to take pictures of Fiend for the rest of his life, which surprises Fiend. She accepts his proposal, and the two travel back to her hometown, where they are married. Naraka. In Naraka's ending, she is taken visibly aback when Wake tells her that he has chosen her as his date, as she did not believe that she was ever a valid candidate. She eagerly accepts and changes into a dress that she designed and sewed herself. A few months after graduating, Wake and Naraka are serving on the World Peace Council, where she confidently addresses the audience over various matters. Tori. In Tori's ending, she and Wake attend the festival, where they fulfill Tori's wish to fly by combining their energies to pilot a plane. During their flight, Wake promises to stay with Tori regardless of where she goes. Chloe. In Chloe's ending, she and Wake leave the festival early to go to karaoke, a special form of karaoke that uses star energy, as she had chosen to give up her singing career. She changes into a student uniform, as she graduated too early to be able to wear the uniform for very long. Wake convinces Chloe to return to her singing career, and she performs a love song she wrote for him. Elie. In Ellie's ending, Wake comes across Elie as she is preparing to return to Gracie the church without seeing Wake, as it would weaken her resolve to return. Wake informs her that he has signed up for a job at Gracia which would enable him to stay by her side. This slightly horrifies her, as this would involve him having to eliminate heretics, but Wake reassures her that this is what he wants. The two are then shown working side by side, where Elie questions whether her work is ultimately right or wrong and decides that it is what is right for her. Serena. In Serena's ending, she accepts Wake's invitation quickly but asks for his help in using transformation magic to assume a taller, more shapely form. He agrees, but finds that rather than transforming, Serena kisses him and tells him that she doesn't need magic to feel confident. 3 months later, Serena is running the family cafe with Wake while her older sister runs an amusement park. Harem. In Harem's ending, Wake chooses to invite all of the heroines to the festival, as he knows that selecting only one of them would upset the others. The girls are shown talking to one another, where they each confess that they had asked Wake to accompany them. They then admit that they also knew that he was paying attention to all of them at the same time, but chose not to do anything because they didn't think that they could do anything about it, as strong bonds were needed in order to create strong star children, and that he was not doing so just because he was being calculative. Wake finds his teammates all dressed in fancy dresses and is urged to pick one of them. The scene then shifts to show Wake accompanying all of the heroines as they visit each other's hometowns, as well as assist Elie in eliminating heretics. Characters: Wakeuaku Waku, voiced by English; Sam Riegel, voiced by Japanese; Toshiyuki Toyinaga, Oinaga, 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 Oinaga. Wake Arches is a teenager that has traveled to the academy with the intent to help fight against the monsters that are threatening the world. While his initial test scores placed him at a rank, he is given a special perk like an S rank due to his high concentration of ether, allowing him to successfully create star children with S rank girls at the academy. He is referred to as God's gift due to this ability. He is placed in the second-year class. His character is driven to fight due to him having witnessed several monsters slaughter his sister a day before her wedding. Wake fights with jewel blades called twin blades. Fuyuko Hayuko, Fuko, voiced by English; Kate Higgins, voiced by Japanese, Lynn. Fuyuko Amicus is a pink-haired teenager with a chipper personality. She joins the academy at the same time as Wake and is tested as NS rank. She joins the swim team, and in her personal storyline, Fuyuko interacts with the ghost of a female student that died while trying to eradicate an underwater nest of monsters. Her character is able to be selected to go into the labyrinths and classmate with. Fuyuko fights with dual pistols called Zero's Way. Elie Herrera, voiced by English, Eden Regal, voiced by Japanese, Maria Eyes. Ellie Troit is a first-year female student that works for the church. She knows Wake from their childhood, although he initially does not remember their meeting, during which point they were attacked by a monster. Her character is able to be selected to go into the labyrinths and classmate with Naraka, voiced by English, Karen Strassman, voiced by Japanese, Sayori Goto. Naraka Sheena is a shy, quiet female student that serves as the class representative for the second-year students. Her personal storyline surrounds Naraka's fear and seeming inability to speak in public due to her having a low personal opinion of her self-worth. Her character is able to be selected to go into the labyrinths and classmate with. Naraka fights with a crossbow/cannon hybrid weapon called Brogue Arch. Chloe Kuro, voiced by English, Wendy Lee, voiced by Japanese, Satomi Sato. Chloe Jennis is an academy instructor whose advanced intellect allowed her to graduate early, despite still being a teenager. She is the older sister of Klotz and one of Wake's instructors. In her storyline, she pursues a side career as a singer and DJ, but is upset by the troubles and disruptions this causes. Her character is able to be selected to go into the labyrinths and classmate with. Chloe fights with Kakulikat, 4 airborne guns that she controls with a small handheld pistol. Serena, voiced by English, Christina Valenzuela, voiced by Japanese, Kaori Mizuhashish, Kaori Mizuhashish, Japanese, Kaori Mizuhashish. Serena Leaf is a third-year female student that has the appearance of a child, making her seem younger than most of the cast. Her storyline: she struggles with her own self-image, as she dislikes that she looks like a child and is frequently treated like one. During her quest line, she discovers a spell that allows her to temporarily transform into a physically mature version of herself, but only when Wake kisses her. She character is able to be selected to go into the labyrinths and classmate with. Serena fights with a leg-mounted cannon that fires ammunition when she kicks, called Exiv Cannon. Tori, voiced by English, Janice Kawe, voiced by Japanese, Mai Kadawaki. Tori Feiji is a first-year student with monochromatic hair. She is shown to be quite strange and is somewhat oblivious to it due being raised in a lab for most of her life. Her personal storyline reflects her struggles to fit in with the people around her. Her character is able to be selected to go into the labyrinths and classmate with. Tori fights with a handheld Gatling gun called Beehive. Fien Huine Fine, voiced by English, Erin Fitzgerald, voiced by Japanese, Chihiro Ishiguro. Fien Glass is a third-year female student introduced early in the game as one of Wake's partners, but is not seen nor playable until about midway through the story. She is an accomplished fighter and noted for her cool personality and good looks. She is grateful for the Wake after clearing the Gluttony Dusk Circle, which was threatening her hometown, sparking some interest in him to become a partner for classmating. Her storyline follows her interest in photography. Fien fights with a gunlance and shield called Lotus Grin. Klotz Kiritsugu, voiced by English, Steve Staley, voiced by Japanese, Ryohei Kimura. Klotz Genis is the classmate of Wake and is the younger brother of Chloe. In the game, he joins the academy the same time as the Wake and Fuyuko, where he is a B rank, but slowly moves up in rank throughout the game. He works in the academy's laboratory and will participate in several of the experiments involving classminting, where male students can create star children with the main character and Alec. He has a crush on a fellow female student named Luce, which is initially not reciprocated due to her love for Alec. Alec Aritsuku, Ariku. Voiced by English, David Vincent voiced by Japanese, Noriaki Sugiyama. Alec Marker is a male student at the academy and the son of the president of Angel Marker Industries. The initial storyline shows him to be an outwardly cold character, which is shown to be false as the game progresses. He is very driven, which initially causes strife between him and the Wake. He later becomes a friendly rival to Wake. Development. Conception Roman II was first announced in March 2013 as a sequel to the original Conception game in April 2012. While the original was for the PlayStation Portable, the sequel was announced for the Nintendo 3DS and PlayStation Vita platforms. The game's story was revealed to be roughly twice the size of the original. It was released on August 22, 2013 in Japan, with a playable demo for the game being released 2 months prior in early June. Atlus announced an English localization of the game on November 19, 2013, to be released in early 2014. A week prior, the company had a mysterious ultrasound-based teaser website hinting at the game's reveal. The game's English title will be Conception Roman II, Children of the Seven Stars. While the original Conception was not translated into English after its release on the PlayStation Portable, in April 2012, the two games' stories are not connected, allowing Western audiences to enjoy the game as a standalone title. While the American and Japanese versions were released at retail Japan on release date and North America a few months later and digitally all regions on release date, the European release is digital only. Various downloadable content DLC, both free and paid, was released for the game, including boss battles against Monokuma from the Danganronpa series. Atlus announced they would release these DLC for North America and Europe between April and May 2014. Reception. The 3DS and Vita versions of Conception Roman II received mixed reviews according to the review aggregation website Metacritic. Many reviewers negatively compared the game to the Persona series, and Game Informer commented that while the issues in Persona felt important, the issues in Conception Roman II felt laughably superficial. The reviewer from EGM Now was mixed in their review, as they felt that there was a Persona-esque addictive quality to the package when it came to the dungeon crawling, but that they did not overly enjoy the game's dating sim aspects due to the shallowness of the interactions with the heroines. Joystick criticized the game's more repetitive aspects and stated that upgrading the various star children made it necessary. In contrast, Famitsu rated both the 3DS and Vita versions highly, and Nintendo Life remarked that with fun characters, unique and engaging combat, a cute central conceit, and an irrepressibly cool soundtrack, Conception Roman II is a bundle of JRPG joy. Sales. In the first week of sales upon release, Conception Roman II sold 20,000 copies on the PlayStation Vita, making it the fifth best-selling game of the week, and an additional 5,000 copies on the Nintendo 3DS, putting it at 16th place for the week. This result was expected by Spike Chunsoft, which had shipped double the number of copies for the Vita version. The game's collective 25,000 copies sold in the first week fell just short of the original game's 30,000 sold in the first week.